Hey everyone, so my name's Michael. Just a little bit of background on me. I grew up around here. I graduated from Monte Vista, class of 2003. Then I went to USC, University of Southern California, for my undergrad. And then I graduated, thought about where I wanted to work. I decided to come back here, and I worked in public accounting for a year and around 8 months. And now, because of the economy being a little difficult, I'm currently in transition between jobs. So before my intention is to share more personal testimonies and personal stories of my experience in college and in high school to help give you parents a better picture of kind of like what we teenagers and young adults go through. But before I go into that, I just want to say I really greatly appreciate that workshop on feelings and empathy, and I also really appreciate what you said about just giving kids ownership and helping them to explore who they are individually, because I actually do strongly believe that there is a need to do more of that for our current generation, and I will go more into that later. So I know two high school friends of mine. I'll start with the first one. His name is, it's not his real name, but let's call him Greg. We were in a lot of the same classes. We took calculus, took biology. He was one of those really brilliant guys who everything he touched, he excelled. He got straight A's. He ran a 5:45 mile time. He was in the orchestra. And I had every bit of confidence in him that when he would go to college, he would really succeed. However, I was very surprised to find out 2 years later that he had a GPA below 2.0. He was on academic probation, and he was in serious consideration for either dropping out or having to stay a couple more years. I have another friend. It's not his real name, but let's call him Nathan. He was a very expressive guy. He was very involved at Monte Vista's theater group. He was also a very brilliant guy. We were in the same calculus classes and same chemistry course. I do remember, though, whenever we talked, he would share a lot about the pressure he felt. Pressure from his parents, pressure from the school, pressure from his peers. And I didn't really think much of it. I kind of discounted, everyone kind of goes through it. However, I later found out that when I was in college, he actually tried to commit suicide by jumping out of his dorm room window. So I think about these two friends of mine. One of them, they're both incredibly gifted, competent academic kids. But what happened? One of them, they both couldn't seem to handle their environment. And I asked myself, was it the issue of competence? Was the college that much more difficult? I would venture to say no, because let's be honest, Monte Vista and the Fremont Union High School District is among the best in the entire world. And not only that, but these friends of mine are excelling and at the top of the class in this environment. So I would actually say that it has to be something else. So kind of taking a step back, I do want to ask, just a general question. I don't know how old your kids are currently, but think about 30, 40, 50 years in the future. What sort of personality, character traits would you like your kid to have? And if you think about it, let me suggest to you that I do not think very many of you would say that, 50 years from now, I want my kid to have straight A's in high school, straight A's in college, and get the best resume and be an excellent performer. I would venture to say that a lot of you might suggest, I would love for my kid to be a mature, responsible adult, a contributing member of society, a kid who can be grateful for his parents and be grateful for the lot that he's been given. And I think if we start out with that end in mind and we communicate that and we live out our lives with our kids, then that makes a huge difference. Because I do believe that a lot of the times, and I've seen this, is that that end goal does not get communicated. And I think the best way, parents, for you to really find out if you are communicating or what you are communicating to your kids is just ask them, what would you say is my goal for you? So I don't know if any of you have heard of the movie Better Luck Tomorrow. Better Luck Tomorrow is a movie about Asian American kids. It came out around 1999. And And in the movie, there actually is a lack of a parental figure, and these Asian American kids are trying to get the college of their choice. However, outside of that standard, that rule of getting into the college of their choice, anything is fair game. And so there's a quote spoken by the main character, and I am going to speak it verbatim. He says, "Our straight A's were our alibis, our passports to freedom. As long as our grades were there, we were trusted." So is that the attitude that you project to your kids? Is the cardinal rule get good grades, and is everything else permissible? I later found out with my friend Greg, the friend who was on academic probation, the reason why his grades were not doing so well was because he was playing this computer game, World of Warcraft. And he played the game every day until 3 a.m., 4 a.m. at night. He would sleep in through his classes. And I asked him, did you do this in high school? And he said, my mom was there and she would pressure me not to do it. And she would tell me not to. She would have a very stringent time of when to stop playing. So that makes me wonder, did he ever have the opportunity to make that decision for himself, whether he wanted to play games or whether he wanted to stop? Because the way I see it now is, if the only reason for him to stop playing games in high school was because his parents would tell him not to, then what is going to happen when he goes to college and that one consequence is not there anymore? And I think the results speak for themselves. Another way this standard gets played out, the standard of, grades are the only thing that matters, is I think a lot of kids tend to strive to adhere to that standard. And let's be real, there is a lot of very real pressure out there, and the standard keeps increasing, it keeps escalating. And I think that's what my friend Nathan experienced. The classes only got harder. He might have felt the pressure, and he might have felt that he was not able to meet it. So try as he might, he just couldn't live up to them, and that might have been what drove him. And I do think of another story. I know this guy in high school. He was another very brilliant individual. Got the straight A's, he aced his SATs, he was on a varsity sports team, and everything was going well for him. He actually got into a very prestigious East Coast Ivy League school. However, I actually would venture to say he is the epitome of this movie Better Luck Tomorrow. For me, he was Better Luck Tomorrow in human life form, because he was not a nice guy to be around. He lied, he cheated on a lot of his tests. People from school would pay him so that he would take their SATs for them. He would get higher scores than those kids. And he hung out with the wrong crowd. And he actually did a lot more drugs when he went to his East Coast school. But to be fair, he got the grades. And he got the grades and he performed well. He had a stellar